Hey everyone, Artebreeze here once again. This is Summoner Wars League Season 16, Week 1, Div 1. We've got the Shadow Elves played by Bradulf and the Fungal Dwarves played by Aaron VW8. Aaron, as some of you may know, is one of the best Fungal Dwarf players out there. And I've seen Bradulf getting some good props on his assassination decks. Watching this game, you can clearly see why. Shadow Elves opened quite early with aggression. One thing I noticed right off the hop was glinting speed and using Selundar right on the front line and dropping them back. That opens the Shadow Elves up to lose that Shadow Knight. However, Aaron whiffs. It always seemed to me that one option would have been to leave Selundar on the front line. I'm not sure what the choice was, but it worked out all the same. We have glinting speed being used twice in the first 2 turns. Right now, Bradulf is moving at a torrid pace. You can see that it was important to him to get rid of all of his consequential units. He sees that the Fungal Dwarves only have 1 magic. One way to really hurt the Fungal Dwarves is to take all their units away at once. They need a few turns to kind of build their momentum before they're really dangerous. So one way to keep them on their heels is to take all their units off the board every turn as best you can. You saw that 8 damage that was done off of that glinting speed combo. That really changes the complexion of the game. Once the Shadow Elves get a summoner to low health, they have so many different ways of getting at that summoner that all they need is one way. Usually it's pretty much a done deal when a summoner is down to, I'd say, 3 health or less. Here Kuldak has some hope still. Darkness will not work on Maldar, who is located in front. You see this combo that's used: attack, demand, turn into a beast, attack again, spawn a carrier. That's a great economic combo. When the Fungal Dwarves were released, there was a different ruling that would have allowed that beast to not lose a health point and gain a boost. That nerf came. I don't personally agree with that because I feel like a deck that is difficult to master should reward you by being strong once you've mastered it. Here we see Samara coming out. She is already knocking off points. And the Fungal Dwarf does what he should, which is move back and retreat. Release spores is huge. Never ever burn release spores. And here we go. Oh, beautiful move by Talia to cover off that summoning point. That really boxes in Kuldak. That limits his movement, and it also limits what he can summon. Really, I almost never use Talia, but I'm seeing her used well in this game for that one turn. And honestly, that turn could have changed the complexion of this game. Kuldak right now is playing slightly suboptimally by having forward-facing carriers that are 3 spaces away from Kuldak. Kuldak wants to have units that he's constantly boosting, and that means that he has to be 2 spaces away. However, because of the many threats that the Shadow Elves present, he's unable to really stick his neck out. Even that wall that he's behind, you could use a ranger and attack that wall and then Shadow Pulse to continue to do damage to Kuldak even though he's behind it. The best use for darkness in this matchup is to remove beasts. Huge pain when a beast has, say, 5 boost, is ready to summon a monstrosity, and they are returned to Kuldak's hand, obviously without any boost. In any matchup, when you're facing the Fungal Dwarves, you can expect that at some point your opponent will try and start charging up a beast to get monstrosity out. Here's a shadow pulse, but because there's no damage to that rear wall, we don't hit Kuldak. However, because bradulf has at least one tome left, he can bring Samara out once more. And this is a big problem for Kuldak especially, because Kuldak likes to create lots of units. You can see here that even though Kuldak is pushed into his end, he's still managing to gain an economic advantage over Selundar. And what I find in my games is so often I get punished in the midfield and I have to suck my Kuldak back with hardly anything and hurt. And as soon as you scrunch him into the corner, it seems like all of a sudden he's able to start winning. Obviously, every time you destroy something that's within 2 spaces of Kuldak, it boosts everything around him, and that machinery can eventually overtake most opponents. However, what I always find is that in the late stages of the game, that machinery does start to dry up. So one strategy to use to defeat the fungal dwarves is to push hard, and when they start expanding out from their corner, you back right off and you get into the midfield, get into your own end even, and rely on your range in order to stop them. Very similar way to beat Fallen Kingdom as well. I'll say something briefly about fungal dwarves and deck building. Fallen Kingdom carriers make the fungal dwarves much stronger. I think, oh, here's the monstrosity. Obviously, bradulf did not have a darkness on hand to cancel that one beast out. However, he did have Samara, and as long as he has Samara and he's got lots of boost to keep her safe and return her to his hand, it's only a matter of time. I don't think Aaron did anything wrong here, and I don't think bradulf did anything special. The one thing I would say that, maybe something I could add to my game is charging a little earlier with the Shadow Elves. I tend to sit back with the Shadow Elves because if you play them right, economically, they can gain an advantage over many factions. But it is true that the fungal dwarves are not one of those factions, and if you can get early aggro on Kuldak, that really makes it hard for him to just sit back and get stronger and stronger. He had to hide behind that wall. He had to play suboptimally. Although even with him playing suboptimally, he was able to build himself out of a corner. He's now economically ahead of Selundar. And if a few things had gone differently, he might have won this game. Because if he destroys that wall, there's no Samara. And what then is Selundar going to do? This, of course, is the game finishing combo. Pretty straightforward. Great game by both. Well played. Good luck in the rest of the tournament, guys. That's all I got for now. Cheers.